Yes, guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel. Chelsea news. We knew it wasn't going to be a quiet summer, didn't we? The season has only just finished, and yet still, we're baffled, we're mind blown, we're confused, and to be quite honest, I'm worried about the future of Chelsea Football Club. Today, I want to look through the supposed reasons as to why Pochettino was alleviated of his duties or walked away, sacked, whatever it is. I think at the moment, there is a lot of fabrication going on about what's actually happened here at Chelsea. My top-end thoughts, the more that time has gone on, the more that we're starting to read and understand things, I think Pochettino had had enough. I think he looked at what was being asked of him, what he was being told and dictated that he had to do. And to be quite honest, Poch didn't want it. Poch didn't see it working. And I think it's going to be the case with any manager that comes into Chelsea, apart from the caliber of manager that we are now linked with. The top-end managerial candidates are Kieran Mckenna, Enzo Maresca, and Thomas Frank. This is from Fabrizio Romano, but it's also being covered by virtually any football journalist in the world, whether they are reputable, non-reputable. Everyone's saying the same things. And that leaves me to sit here in this chair in front of the GBFC sign and think to myself, look, I've got to be honest. I've got to look at what the club is doing. I've got to look at my thoughts on Pochettino and realise that what we want as fans for the best for Chelsea Football Club is to see us to keep winning. We don't want to see owners coming in the club with the sole vision for themselves to actually be able to make money from this as a long-term investment. In football, you want to see your club win, and you do not want to see your club ran into the ground when it seems as though billionaire businessmen can make awful decisions, whereas as fans, yes, we often think we know better, but in this case, I think so many of us just well might be correct. So, first of all, let's take a look at this. This comes from the Blue Dodger, and it's from The Athletic. These are the key points of contention between Pochettino and Chelsea, which led to him leaving the club. The head coach's willingness to fit in with the club's imposed structure. To put this one in layman's terms, this is the structure of the club dictates that this is the way it's going to be, this is what needs to happen. Pochettino didn't want that. Initial skepticism over 221.7 million midfield pairing of Moises Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez. To be fair, Enzo's playing with an injury all season. Caicedo was slow to get started. He came good in the end, but ironically, it was without Enzo Fernandez. But once more, bringing it back to the above point about the imposed structure of the club, the manager's got no say on who comes into the club. He is given what he has got to work with, and he has to make it work, or he's going to get fired, or the results won't be good enough. The owner's desire for a coach who teaches football. At this stage, it's almost like, you remember when you're a kid? I used to do this. I don't know if any of you did the same. But I'd have my bedroom and it would be nice and tidy. And then one morning I'd wake up and I'd look at the bedroom and I'd be like, wouldn't it be nice if the bed was over there and the desk was there? And I do this all the time. I just get bored, but that's because it's my bedroom. Do you know what I mean? No one really cares. As long as I'm sleeping in my bed and not under the floorboards, my mum's going to be okay with it. It's fine. With Chelsea, I feel as though we take a little look at it and the owners are looking at the club right now. They just literally want to take something that's actually working, and because they've got the control, because they're the ones making the decisions and they can say yes to it and they can execute the decisions, they're just shaking it for no reason. They're twisting and moving everything around without really thinking about what they're actually doing or what they've actually done. Training methods and the club's injury record. Look, as much as I only really came round to Pochettino in the last month or so of the season, the injury record at Chelsea is alarming, and a lot of people are saying that it is the training methods of Pochettino which has heightened this as an issue, with intense running, maybe unnecessary amounts of running as well. So that could have been an issue against Pochettino for sure. Pochettino sensed that he was one of the few experienced operators in the building. Look, this is where it comes back to the discussion, which leads me to have the biggest issue right now at Chelsea, which is the worrying thing, is that Pochettino was probably the smartest football head at the football club. Joe Shields is obviously brilliant when it comes to identifying talents to bring into the squad, but Joe Shields is simply a cog within this bigger picture of multiple stakeholders that have got massive says as to what happens to the football club. And in the end, Pochettino's footballing opinion should be one of the most valuable. And it isn't. It's not given any kind of credibility because Pochettino is constantly bombarded with do this, do that, you must do this, you must do that. And Poch is probably looking at it thinking, well, Conor Gallagher fits my system. Hence why he's played 50 out of 51 matches. And you've got Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo, who I am forced to play together, even though Enzo was injured. Like, Chelsea were desperate to get Enzo and Caicedo playing together. When it comes to profiling these two footballers, they're both individually fantastic, but it is going to take work to fit them in the side together. And it never really clicked. And it was only when it was Caicedo and Gallagher at the end of the season that Chelsea looked as though we were fluid. Looked as though it was fluent in the middle of the park. So I think when it comes to the recruitment and the issue that any manager's coming in, and we're going to go through the current top candidates in a moment, because this is where it gets stressful. This is where my worries about the lack of understanding that you can be these like dictator owners whilst still allowing what has to be there. Like, you have to allow your manager to influence the decisions at the club. Because, and this is where it's becoming difficult, because you can't call someone a manager at Chelsea anymore, because they don't manage anything. They just run the training sessions, and then they're put in front of the media and have to give the same answers, because to shove the club and the people above them under the bus in every interview is just going to get them fired. It's just going to get them in trouble. So whoever comes in at Chelsea is fighting a losing battle here, because as much as the outward projection from the owners is Chelsea deserve to be at the top, Chelsea deserve to be winning trophies and competing on all fronts, women's team, men's team, academy. This is what we hear, but these guys are businessmen. These guys are venture capitalists who knew absolutely nothing about Premier League football, European football, hell, European sports before they took over this club. So to expect these guys to act like these dictator figures and get everything right without listening to the football brains is absolutely extraordinary. And this is why I find it difficult, because I don't want to go and call people that have become billionaires in life stupid, because you can't become a billionaire by being stupid unless you've inherited the money from flipping royal family or a prince, and then you could actually just be plain simply stupid and handed these funds. But these blokes aren't that. They're businessmen that have actually flipping grafted to be able to get to where they are in life. Which is why I find it beyond confusing that they can still think in a brand new sport where there is literally hundreds upon hundreds of millions, if not billions of revenue that needs to be accounted for and managed every single year, how they can still not understand that it is the footballing side of things that facilitates what this is. Chelsea are no longer an attractive prospect for a sponsor if we go 3 years in a row without Champions League football. Chelsea are no longer a big club where the big players in the world want to join us when we have got the merry-go-round and circus and basket case, all of these buzzwords that we've heard. We are literally that. It's not just like, oh, look at Chelsea, they're in the news again for all the wrong reasons. It genuinely is a circus. It's a disaster, because the big players are going to look at the uncertainty. They're going to listen to the players that are clearly unhappy with Pochettino's exit and be like, well, you know, what if I come and I really like the next manager and then he gets fired because he didn't want that guy to be sold. And I didn't want that guy to be sold because he played 50 out of 51 games. He's clearly important to my team. It's absolutely mind-blowing how they have screwed this up over and over again. And I think it comes down to the fact that Bowley, Eghbali, these are the guys right at the very top. They're the ones that like screwing everything in, unscrewing everything. But it's Winstanley and Stewart who are actually making these calls. And the weird thing is, all of these guys above the manager are all sticking together. There isn't any accountability from Bowley and Eghbali to say, look, you guys employed Pochettino, so it's your fault that this didn't work. They're the ones signing everything off, but there's going to be no accountability with these new owners, because we can clearly see now, after 2 years of decision, 5 different managers in the dugout at Chelsea, when we didn't want to be that club anymore, they're not going to be the ones held accountable. They're not going to hold their hands up and say, you know what? We actually need football people that understand football, and we can't just run this club like a dictatorship where everyone must be in line, and if they rebuttal anything we say, we put them back in place, nod your head, sir, and move on. This is not going to make Chelsea successful. So even if you want to take profits out of this club in the future and make money from your investment, you won't, because it is the football that will get you those profits in the first place. It's absolutely mind-blowing. We move now into the second part of this video, where I want to discuss the current candidates that have been mentioned for the Chelsea job. And this is where it just becomes very, very worrying. I made a video yesterday, manager tier list. Go and check it out. I give my thoughts on who I want to see, who I don't want to see. This is from Fabrizio Romano, but like, it doesn't matter who your favourite journalists are. They're all saying the same. Thomas Frank, Kieran Mckenna, Enzo Maresca have all been mentioned internally at Chelsea. It's still an open race. Sebastian Huanes remains highly rated but considered difficult to appoint. No talks with Kompany on Bayern's list, Tuchel, Flick or Conte. Internal discussions are ongoing. So if we get Enzo Maresca from Leicester, we've got to pay Leicester $8 million in compensation because that's in his contract. They just got promoted to the Premier League. Thomas Frank is a Brentford manager who, to be quite honest, yes, it's an achievement to keep Brentford in the league. Yes, they play some good football at times, but it's nowhere near an achievement that would warrant being linked with the Chelsea job. And Kieran Mckenna has got Ipswich promoted from League One, promoted from the Championship, is 38 years old, and the only Premier League experience he has is being at Manchester United, watching under other managers. It's absolutely mind-blowing that Chelsea Football Club have got to this point. And I wouldn't be surprised if the reason why, well, it's definitely not the reason, because the club wants someone young. They want someone who hasn't got a loud enough voice in football right now to be able to dictate, to be able to control. And this is what scares me the most, because the owners, even if we're looking through the lens of they just want to make money, they just want profit, they're not going to do it. They are not going to get there by constantly employing and buying inexperience, throwing it all into a pot and expecting it to work. You can't bake a cake by just cracking a load of eggs into your ingredients and then you don't put it in the oven. It's just going to sit there like a sticky, gluey mess. And that is what it is right now. We might have a load of tasty ingredients already in the melting pot, but they haven't even flipping turned the heat on. And this is the problem with Chelsea. We started to turn the heat on at the end of the season. Maurizio Pochettino had the backing of the players, the backing of the staff and people around him that are on his level, not those above him. And Chelsea started, and I hate using the phrase because everyone says it and it's kind of like, but they started to cook. Do you know what I mean? If we're looking at the cake analogy, not that it's the great one, but like Chelsea really started to play some good football, get good results. Pochettino has probably started to take himself seriously and he's like, well, I've got a year left on my contract. Pretty sure they're not going to offer me an extension right now because, well, we want Champions League and we didn't get that. So Pochettino has been like, right, okay, you're going to sit down and talk to me. I'm going to sit down and talk to you. And I don't want you to sell Conor Gallagher. I don't want you to sell Trevoh Chalobah. And here is my data. Here are my reasons. And those that are above him are like, hang on a minute, shut your mouth, mate. You don't talk to us, we talk to you. Here's our data. Here's what we know. And this doesn't align. Pochettino, if he's got any respect for himself, and I believe this is the way it's gone, and I will give him a round of applause when it comes out eventually that Pochettino was just as big of a decision maker here as the owners were. And I say credit to Maurizio Pochettino because I would not want to be, if I was a football manager right now, and I've got these business people that don't understand football working above me. Look, Lawrence Stewart and Paul Winstanley, they've brought in some good players. There are players out there, Gusto, Palmer. Some of these players are quality and they will become top quality assets for Chelsea. But even these guys are not going to want to stay around at Chelsea with no Champions League, with constant change and no stability at the club. And the people that are running it and making these decisions have absolutely no Scooby-Doo about what football is all about and how you actually grow a sustainable football team. Why? Because this is their first time trying to do it. It's not like we have gone and got a manager or an owner who, like, for example, if we'd have got the guys from Abu Dhabi, if they'd have come in at Chelsea, no worries, mate, because they've already done it at Man City. It's not going to happen, but these guys are literally coming in blind, and even though like they've been given a walking stick to help them see, they're not holding it, they're throwing it back and trying to hit people with it. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. Enzo Maresca, Kieran Mckenna, Thomas Frank, these are not the caliber of managers right now in their managerial careers, without being disrespectful. I think they're good managers, but not for this Chelsea project. Not to be dictated to by owners. They've got to where they have by having the creative freedom to set their teams up the way that they have studied their badges to get to. Leicester, They're not even, they almost didn't get promoted. Leicester almost bottled it under Maresca at the end of the championship season with by far the best squad in the league. And I think the highest wages ever in the championship. Ipswich as well, like, towards the end of the season, they were great. They had Amari Hutchinson doing a good job. Imagine Kieran Mckenna in his Ipswich award ceremony at the end. If there's one player you could sign, who would it be? Amari Hutchinson. Chances are, if McKenna takes over at Chelsea, we sell his favourite player. Like, what the hell is going on? If you're Kieran Mckenna, you go nowhere near this job. You protect yourself, because coming to Chelsea, unless you win the Premier League, this is a poison chalice. It's been a poison chalice forever. Ancelotti was sacked in the tunnel at Goodison Park after finishing second off the back of winning us a double. It's pure insanity. Antonio Conte wins us the Premier League, then wins us an FA Cup. Fired, gone. Do you know what I mean? Being a Chelsea manager has always been one of the trickiest jobs in the world. People say, oh, how can you say that? Because you just get given all the money and all the players. But they don't get to choose who they are. Any manager who comes into Chelsea right now will not have a single say on who comes into this club. Those above them are too set in their ways, and their egos are far too big to understand that they don't have the footballing knowledge. They think they know what they're doing, but they're too proud. And that is going to be the downfall of Chelsea Football Club. And I'm sorry, I don't support it. I absolutely don't. I will always support Chelsea, and whoever this new manager is coming in, I will back them until I'm given enough reasons with results on the pitch to suggest that they're not the right guy. That is the way that football works, and that is how, as fans, you've got no choice but to do that if you want to support your club. I've got mates of mine telling me they went to 40, 50 games last season. They're not going next year because they don't want to give these American owners a penny, because they're sick and tired of seeing firsthand in the stands the toxic atmosphere that's been created. All we want to see, in my opinion, I don't want to speak for everybody, but what I want to see as a fan of Chelsea, I want to see us actually being ambitious. Employing a manager who has not even finished like above 9th in the Premier League, who's won a league title in the Championship, not even the top level of English football, or promotion. That's not ambitious. It's not the level that Chelsea need. We have got a £228 million midfield that still might not be able to play together. You think that the difference between the Championship and the Premier League is astronomical. Why do you think all the teams that come up go straight back down? This is a different level of football. And if Chelsea supposedly should be winning titles, winning leagues, qualifying for the Champions League at minimums, like, you get that level of manager in. You don't go and get Thomas Frank, Enzo Maresca, or Kieran Mckenna. No disrespect to any of them. But look, I'm not surprised anymore. I'm not surprised that the club is being ran this way. I'm just so worried about the future because I can see it right before my eyes right now. We're not going to improve. There'll be another one season of stability needed. It will come to the end of that season. And even this inexperienced man might be, look, guys, this is the third year in a row. We've bought these kind of, we need this. No, shut your mouth. Get in line, mate. Out the door. We'll just be here forever. We will literally be here forever. But this season, at least we went from 12th to 6th. Now, we can only get 4th to call it an improvement, to call it progress. And if you look at Manchester United, they lost Sir Alex Ferguson, and then it's been a disaster ever since. Man City, they got in these new owners. They had Mancini, Pellegrini, each individually great, and then they went for the best. They went for the best, and since then, yeah, maybe they've broken 115 Premier League rules, but they got the best manager in the world, and they've now won 6 out of the last 7 Premier Leagues. They didn't go and get the Championship promoted manager to get to where they are now. They got the best manager in the world. And if Chelsea want to be as ambitious as that, which we're led to believe they do, then why are we going and getting Championship managers? I don't understand it. I do understand it, but I don't understand it. And I don't think a lot of you guys do too. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I'm concerned. I'm really concerned about this. I'm obviously going to keep you guys up to date as news breaks. I think the shortlist will become short and we'll actually get an idea as to who it's going to be. And then, yeah, I have no idea, but it's not looking good at the moment. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Come on, you Blues.